Hi everyone, it's Carly Hall, and today we are going to make this adorable Santa cam. It is just a little lens that you put onto your cell phone that we're going to put inside a plastic ornament. We're going to glitter it, and then we're going to cut the vinyl and apply it. So we have a lot to do. I brought all the supplies so I could show you what you need for this project. But you need a plastic ornament. I just got mine at Joann, and I like plastic better, and I'm going to show you a technique on how to install the lens, and plastic will work great for that. You'll also need red glitter and some type of adhesive. I have been using this Polycrylic. It's actually a finisher, so you can use this to add like a sheen to your projects. Oops, turned it the wrong way, there we go. But it's great to apply glitter, so I'll show you that. I use this little CVS dropper to apply my polycrylic, so I'll show you how to do that. The lens, I ordered these online, but I've seen a ton of people getting them at the Dollar Tree. So these are just the lenses that go on your cell phone, and there's not actually a real camera in there, it's just the lens. If you want to apply string to your ornament at the end, you can do that. You'll also need a Sharpie or some type of pen to trace your lens so we can cut it. And then to cut your lens hole, we'll actually be using a wood burning tool. And then if you already have a vinyl lettering, great, but if not, then you'll want some type of machine. I'm using my Cricut, and so you'll need a piece of white vinyl, transfer tape, and your weeding tools with your scissors. So it sounds like a lot, but just the craft essentials, and I'm going to show you how to jump into Design Space. So I'm going to show you my computer screen, and then we'll start over there, and then we'll glitter our ornament. So over on Design Space, I already have my project designed, but we're here in Design Space, and if you don't use a Cricut, this is Cricut Design Space, and this is the image. It's actually upside down right now. I'll make a copy so we can see it a little bit bigger. But I have it like this to conserve material. So I'll show you where I got this design. It actually came from this cartridge. Oops, let me do that one more time. The image information, and then we want to view this whole cartridge. So now we're in this Country Christmas cartridge, and this is in Design Space. And then in Design Space, there's a Santa cam option. So I used this design, and I just inserted it onto my canvas. You can resize it and adjust it however you want. And what I did is I actually deleted out the camera, since we have a camera. And then I sliced this image apart. I'll delete this one over here. I sliced this image apart so that I could manipulate it and cut it a little bit better. The reason I did this is if we cut this right now, I'll click Make It so you can see, but there's a lot of wasted material that you would cut out here. So I wanted to conserve material by slicing it apart. So you can use a square, highlight both, and then click Slice. And now I can move my image and manipulate it. I turned mine upside down. And in that way, when you resize it, you can adjust it and then attach it back together. So that way it'll cut exactly how you had it. So I already resized the one on the left to the right dimensions. My Santa looks to be about 3 1/4 inches long, and then my cam, let's see, is a little bit less than 2 inches, so just for reference there. We'll click Make It, and that'll come onto our canvas. If you're making multiple projects, you can actually increase your project copies here and adjust the number of copies. We're just going to cut one, so I'll apply that, and then we're going to continue on here. We're going to connect to the Cricut device and set our material to vinyl. All right, we're gonna load in our blade and get our machine going, so let's go back to the camera. Okay, coming over to the machine, since we're cutting vinyl, we're gonna use our standard grip mat, and I have a scrap of vinyl cut to the right size, and we're just gonna load that onto the top. With vinyl, you want to make sure that the color is facing you and the liner is down. And then we're going to load that into our machine. Let's see if I can do this backwards. Here we go. Under the clips, up against the roller, and then you're going to load that in. Since we already told the machine that it's set to vinyl, we're just going to click the flashing Cricut C button. And then once you click that, it'll start cutting. You can see on the computer screen that it actually is tracking how far in the cut is. So right now it's about 50% done, so this is a really quick cut. And there's a Cricut cutting. Can't really see much since it is white vinyl, but it is cutting. All right, so the cut's done. We're gonna click the flashing load and unload button and unload our mat. And then we'll just peel the vinyl off. All right, so now we're gonna weed our design and bring this to life. So I like to trim my material down to around the size of the image so that I can use the extra scraps in the future. And then we're just gonna weed off the excess. So if you are new to Cricut or new to vinyl, weeding is just the process of pulling out the extra. And white is a little bit difficult to see because the liner is the same color, but typically when you're weeding, you can kind of see what's the liner and what's coming off. Then you'll want to just make sure to pull out the insides of your letters. And I like to look at my computer screen and see if I got all the pieces. And then we're going to apply transfer tape for later. So this is transfer tape, and I just kind of like to take my hook and just grab up one of the edges so that I can pull it loose instead of struggling with it with my fingers. And then I just take it and place it over my image. And then trim it down to size. And as I was trimming, I noticed that I missed the inside of my S. So I'll just come back with my tool and peel this back. Just right there, if you can see that. Pull out that inside, and then put my tape back over. So now I have this ready for my later steps, and I'll go over the glittering. So this part is probably your most time-consuming part, is your glitter. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this polycrylic. Just gonna pop it open. And this is great to stick the glitter on, and it will last a long time. And you can find this at just your home center, Lowe's, Home Depot type store. I've done a couple of these ornaments already, and 3 milliliters is plenty for each ornament ball. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna open your ornament by just taking off the top. It just pops out. And then I just inject my polycrylic into the ball. And then the fun part is kind of just swirling it around. So since these are clear, you just kind of roll it around and let it cover the entire ball. The one make or break thing on these ornaments is that when you're spinning your polycrylic is if it's too thick, your glitter won't stick to the plastic and it'll just kind of be stuck in this messy, gooey mess of your ball. So you just want to make sure that you spin it and really let it coat all the edges. And then that's why I have these plastic cups so that it can drip into those. So I'll grab this cup here. Then you kind of just spin it so that it coats everywhere. And just make sure you get all the bubbles covered. You can see that there's still some spots here that aren't filled, so you just want to rotate it back and forth, covering all those different spots. And then you'll just let it sit there and drain. So while that's sitting and draining, I only let it sit and drain for a couple of seconds, but if you put too much in there, it will need to drain for a little bit longer. Now I have my glitter, and I usually store my glitter with some Glad press and seal wrap so that my glitter doesn't get everywhere. And I'm gonna put the lid back on. This glitter goes a long way, so I'm just gonna take my ball, make sure all the polycrylic is kind of dripped out, and you wanna make sure to get that top rim area up here. So we'll get all that good stuff dripped. And then you'll take your glitter, and if you wanna use a funnel, you can. I didn't use a funnel before, but so we'll see how good we are now. And I poured in kind of a lot of glitter. I wanted to be heavy-handed, so about this much. And then I just spin this around the same way that I spun the polycrylic. And you can see that it coats really well. I haven't needed 2 coats of glitter yet, so if you do need a second coat, you would just pour the polycrylic in, but make sure it dries completely. Oops, just dumped up some glitter, so just make sure you turn it. The other thing that I did is I used a piece of paper, and then I kind of just shook it to cover. So it's almost all covered. The top is covered. And then I just left this little guy upside down and let him dry overnight. Probably only need to let him dry for a couple of hours, but overnight, come back to it the next day. So I have a ball that's already glittered and ready to be cut. This one is dry, and I can start working on placing the lens. So I have my lens, and I'm just gonna hold it in kind of like an eyeball it where I want it to go. And then what I did is I placed it down, and then I just traced around the outside of the lens. So these lenses actually aren't glued on, they're just placed in. So just scribble, holding it in place, and just get around the whole end. So your circle doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of draw it on there, and then we're gonna cut it out. Okay, so this might take a little bit of trial and error. I practiced on a lot of just bad ornament balls, so any defects, ornaments that had issues. I took my wood burning tool and I just kind of started practicing. So if we refer back to the ornament here, here's our final ornament. You can see that this spins because it's not glued in. It's just attached in there because there's little grooves on the end of the lens. So it's just placed inside, but it's pretty tight. It's not going anywhere. Okay, so here's our wood burning tool. If you want to come in here close, I just followed the line and I just started by poking a hole and then slowly moving around. You can see it kind of smoking there. And it's pretty quick. You just go all the way around. And this is hot, 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 so make sure that you're being very careful when you're using this. Then you can use your tools, your tweezers, and kind of just pop that piece out. So there you have your piece. Now the next thing is you want to make sure your lens fits. So what I did to get my lenses in is I kind of just twisted them and pushed in while I was going until it snapped into place. So now you can see that that's in there, not going anywhere. Okay, so there's our lens. I'm just gonna place him in here for, well, that one has polycrylic in it. Put this one up. Place him in there while we're ready to get our vinyl ready. All these Santa cams are rolling around. Okay, so coming back over to our vinyl, I told you we would get this going. So I like to trim around my transfer tape so that I can better place this on my ornament. Curved surfaces are a little bit tricky to work with, so you want to make sure that you set yourself up for success by kind of doing all these little tricks to get your crafting to be a little easier. So just trim around. Be careful since it's white. And then we're good to go. Usually I would recommend the hinge method when placing these on your ornaments, But since it's such a small surface, I just eyeballed it. So in my hand, I just took my transfer tape off. Make sure you burnish your transfer tape on. So burnishing your transfer tape on, you can use a scraper or you can use a different tool. And then when you're pulling your transfer tape off, I like to pull my liner off my material so that when I pull this way, I can push into my transfer tape. And I have lots of glitter, so I would recommend working on a clean workspace. And then your transfer tape has your word. So now grabbing my ornament ball that keeps on rolling everywhere, you're just gonna come over and you're just gonna eyeball it. If you wanna measure it out, be my guest. I start by sticking the center down and then working towards the edges. It's a little harder than I thought to do it upside down. So you're just gonna work around the edges and just push down. And this is removable, so if you mess up, don't worry, you can adjust it. But just push down, and then you're gonna peel your transfer tape off before you really completely burnished it on, because that way you can push it in after your transfer tape is off. So there's a little bit of a adjustment on the A here, so I'm just gonna pull this up and then burnish it in. And if this bothers me, I could take it off and adjust it. Since I'm just making this for myself, it's good to go. So our Santa's on, and now we're just gonna place our cam. So doing the same technique, pull off your transfer tape. Just kind of roll your liner off, making sure that all the little pieces stick down. And then you have your word on your transfer tape, and you can kind of come in and eyeball it again. And just start in the middle and then make your way out. So with the A on the other one, kind of messed up because you want to kind of follow the curve of the letter and then follow your letters as you push them down. Same thing with the C. So I'll start on the curve and then follow that to the C. So there we go, we'll keep on pushing that and burnishing it in. And then we'll peel off the transfer tape, and then we'll burnish in just a little bit more. So we'll burnish this in and make sure it's all set. And then as for the hook on the top, if you want to come back close in here, all I did is you just kind of push those in, and then I like to place my metal clip there. And then you just finish it off with some twine, make a bow, add some cute details. You can put the child's name on the back or add a letter from Santa and a delivery postmark from the North Pole. So super cute and super easy. You can whip out several of these at the same time, so all your glitter balls are drying at the same time, and you'll have several Santa cams ready to go. So that's all I have for you today. See you next time.